Hello students, today in this topic we are going to learn about the age of industrialization. Part 1 talks about the introduction and major factors of the Industrial Revolution. When the political revolutions were changing the political scenario in Europe and America, during the second half of the 18th century, economic transformations were taking place in England. It was a period when changes in the manufacturing process, agriculture, transportation, and technology had taken place, and it had a profound effect on its social and cultural life. These changes were first witnessed in England and then it spread throughout the Western Europe, North America, Japan, and eventually in the entire world. The industrialization of Europe, like the French Revolution, left a permanent mark on the society. Life, as it was described in the 18th century, changed drastically. Classes shifted, wealth increased, and nations began assuming national identities. These economic transformations were termed as the Industrial Revolution. The term Industrial Revolution was popularized by the British economic thinker Arnold Toynbee in order to describe England's economic development from 1750 to 1850. This was due to the inventions which, when applied to the industries, had changed the methods of production. This change in turn had revolutionized the social, political, and the economic life of the people in the world. Industrial revolution is usually defined as the fundamental changes in the means of production, distribution, and exchange of the commodities which was the result of a series of inventions and discoveries. It was a continuous process of developing the manufacturing process and the industries. It was for this reason that the Industrial Revolution had taken place in two stages. First phase had taken place from 1750 to 1850 and the second phase began from 1850 and is still in progress. Before the Industrial Revolution had taken place, a domestic system of production had existed, wherein the goods were produced on a small scale with the help of hand-operated machines, according to the needs of the people in the local market. In this system of production, human labor was the most important component. But the Industrial Revolution had completely changed this system, mainly because human energy was replaced with a new and more powerful motive force in the form of steam energy. Though steam engines had existed in the early 18th century, but they were not economical and were poorly structured, and so they could not be put to commercial use. It was the modification of Thomas Newcomen's engine by James Watt which had inaugurated the new age called the Age of Steam. This revolutionized the manufacturing methods, developed the factory system, inaugurated a new era in the means of transport and communication, and increased the industrial output in an economy which was primarily an agriculture oriented. Since all these changes and the revolution began in England, England is referred as the mother of the Industrial Revolution. Major factors of the Industrial Revolution. In this we are going to talk about why Industrial Revolution began in England. The first point is geographical location. The geographical location of England greatly helped the Industrial Revolution. Being separated from the mainland of Europe, England remained immune from wars and political upheavals of Napoleonic conflicts, and the conditions in England remained quite stable. These stable conditions enabled England to develop their industrial capacity without fear of battle, damage, or loss of life. The humid climate of England was also favorable for the establishment of the textile factories. Availability of capital was another factor why Industrial Revolution happened in England. The vast amount of capital which England had accumulated out of profits of a growing trade in India and America had enabled her to invest in establishing the machinery and buildings, which in turn contributed to the new technological developments. In addition, English investors also possessed a large amount of capital obtained from the Bank of England, and its credit system also helped England to be ahead of other European countries. The money available with the rich people was invested by them in setting up new industries. These people were ready to take risks and were willing to invest money for the discovery of the new techniques. From the newly discovered areas, gold and silver was brought in large amounts. Thus, within a short period, it doubled European profits and stimulated economic activity, which in turn gave the wealthy more money to spend on new ideas. Availability of natural resources was yet another factor for industrial revolution to begin in England. England was gifted abundantly with deposits of natural resources like coal, iron, and mineral fuels. The location of the coal and iron mines had encouraged the English to evolve new techniques for the manufacture of iron and utilization of the coal. It is well known that the availability of coal and iron ores in large quantities greatly helped the growth of numerous industries in England. The need for large quantities of coal for smelting of iron ores, transportation, etc., necessitated improvement in the techniques of coal mining. Metal cages and tubs were used to lift coal. Even the use of wire ropes for lifting of coal was started a little later. Engines were invented to pump out the water from the mines. Availability of labor also helped industrial revolution to begin in England. England had witnessed an increase in population during the 18th century. There was a large-scale immigration of the people from other European countries, either to avoid religious persecution or to find employment. At the same time, a large number of landless farmers from the villages migrated to the towns in search of jobs when they lost their work due to the enclosure movement. This provided a perennial source of labor to the British manufacturers to start the new industries. Scientific and technological knowledge was also one of the factors to have industrial revolution in England. England was fortunate to have a number of people with the necessary scientific knowledge and ready to experiment on it. These scientists also received the support from the rulers. The scientists and the discoveries in England gave preference to discover those machines which would not only reduce the work of the people but at the same time be more effective in producing goods of a better quality and which were cost effective. This led to the invention of a number of machines in England, which led to the establishment of the factory system. In the next episode, we are going to learn about the inventions of the Industrial Revolution. Thank you.